Seems impossible to avoid the Hoover when you share children together, even with apps. So with that, all communication goes about the kids. Anything else is completely ignored. Anything that's deviated out of the communication agreement, you just copy and paste like either a text or communication agreement that you have before. Hoover is also you letting it happen. Okay. Like you're saying like, hey, it's impossible when you share two kids. So there's interaction there. So at that point, we need to rewire the story that you believe. Otherwise, you might entertain the possibility to go back. How to respond to them always making up lies and attempting to portray me in a negative light. I would ignore it. I would go no contact, but I would ignore it. He would even call me a narcissist. Yeah, 100%. They'll put it back on you. I was granted 15-year injunction last month, and we have a 1.5-year-old and still legally married. It's possible to get out. Awesome. I'm glad you're out. What are the chances of change? Slim to none. Slim to none. I have very few narcissists that I've even worked with that I've seen consistent change. Try. Early on, I would try and I would work with narcissists. And I would do like more coaching, like one-on-ones. Right now, I do like an initial appointment, but then I have like some hoops that they have to go through if I actually want to see if I'm actually interested in working with them. Cost of one-on-one session. If you go to my website, the one-on-one I think they changed. One-on-one is $125. I'd love to hear how you did that. Good for you. Yeah, there's a lot of different pieces on there. Definitely connect on the app with people. Depends on their court system everywhere that's going on. Okay. My ex wanted to use therapy to get rid of me, leaving him blameless. A lot of times they will go to therapy to try to make themselves look better and switch it back on you. Does a narcissist ever make a big investment of money just to make you feel indebted to them? 100%. Be careful what you take from them money-wise. No conduct, I understand. Do you feel compassion for narcissists? No, I do not. Because I know from this side that it's a choice. I know from this side that if the person wants to be honest with themselves, there is a choice there. So I don't have much compassion for bullshit. And I view that I can take a pretty hard stance on that because that's also who I am. That's also how I showed up. I showed up abusive. I showed up as a cheater. I showed up as a liar. Now working extremely hard to transform all of that, I don't have much compassion. I will work with them if someone comes up, but I'll say, hey, this is the stuff you need to do. If they don't do it, I'm like, I'm not interested in working with you. Hope that makes sense. You're also asking a person who doesn't have a lot of innate empathy. I have cognitive empathy, so it's a little bit different there. Okay. What made you finally want to change? Some of it was understanding that I had a cycle and I was never going to get out of it. It was never going to break until I actually changed myself. Getting involved with Wake Up Warrior, that was confronting the lies. Basically, the whole premise there is if you want to be a man, you need to stop fucking lying. That's the whole boom, here it is in your face. If you're going to actually do this, you need to actually show up and be a man. Can I be friends with him? He doesn't ask to see me, no intimacy, flirty text occasionally. Why? I would not advise it because typically they're still going to try to control you. Don't have compassion for BS. Yeah. I left and no contact, no kids involved. Is it trauma bond? I've not gotten myself to file for divorce for some reason. I'm scared to file. Are you scared of how he's going to react, physical danger, or are you scared just head-wise of what he's going to do? Can a narcissist be a good stay-at-home dad? Depends how much you want to expose your kids to toxicity. At the end of the day, throw the narcissist label out. Okay, how is this person showing honesty, vulnerability, and consistent change? How are they being a loving support to you and to your kids? They can't abuse you and not the kids. It doesn't work like that. So all of the he's a good dad is a bunch of BS as well because he's not even showing the kids a healthy relationship. He's not even showing a healthy example. He's pulling back financial resources from you that's also affecting the kids. Okay. How long did it take you to accept accountability, and how did you know your changes were permanent and not manipulation? There is a good period of time, probably at least 6 months, if not longer, of questioning my own brain of am I changing for this person? Am I changing for this person? There's a lot of different pieces there. Also, my wife left. So there was a period of time where there was no one else to change for. There was just the supplies I had. And so there's a lot of different pieces there of questioning, wait a second, is this me? Is this the narcissism? There's this questioning back and forth. And so I had to get to a place of I'm going to keep doing and I'm going to keep showing up regardless of what I'm thinking or feeling to get back to the honesty of what's actually real. Okay. My son's father is a narcissist, but he's such a great father. We co-parent. He shows up financially and physically for our son. So it's hard to know what to do. If he's been abusive to you, he's not a great father. I just say that. Some people don't like when I say that, but I'll just say that. What's the best way to handle my narcissist who's trying to control the divorce process by stalling? Send it back to the court process. There's not a good way, solid way to do it. Depending on where you are, depending on the legal laws, like just be careful. Exposure or money are the two biggest things that sometimes can make them speed up. How do I get my child's counselor to understand that this and not sound crazy against dad? Just being honest. Like I wouldn't even bring up narcissism, but like, hey, he's an habitual liar. Like that doesn't sound crazy. That just sounds, you're just saying this is what it actually is. Okay. Why do narcissists keep bothering their exes? Typically, one, because they still have access, and two, because it's supply. They get something from it. Does a narcissist who's compulsively cheated on his wife and abandoned their kids ever get to a point where they self-reflect and regret? I don't want my ex-husband back, but the lack of conscience is unfair. A lot of times, no. A lot of times, there's not this aspect of regret that comes. The narcissist can turn the kids against you, like mine did, saying you love my son more than I did. A lot of times, they'll try to triangulate and move it over. I mentioned cognitive empathy. So cognitive empathy is knowing and understanding, but not always like feeling. Like if you start crying, I'm not going to start crying, but I might be able to connect of like, oh, you're crying because of this. And I'll be like, that makes sense. I'm sorry you feel that way. Okay. Like that even sounded narcissistic. Okay. But like, I'm trying to give like an example of like the cognitive empathy is a little bit different than like emotional empathy, or what's the other one? Compassionate empathy, I think it is. And so it's hard. Like it's a different aspects of it. How can I figure out what I'm supplying him? He keeps coming back, but I don't want four. So the fact that he keeps coming back and you keep letting him, like that's supply enough. He has access to you and you're not controlling that piece, that access to you. What is the best way to handle? I read that one. Was him not giving access to anything, money, ring around the house, no sex? Is that control? Yes, 100%. 100% that's control. How can you go about narcissistic father manipulating the children and feeding them false hopes? Showing the kids the reality. Like, hey, he keeps telling you this. When is it actually happening? He keeps telling you this, but it's not actually showing up. Do you ever think you don't have NPD after being diagnosed, or if everyone has NPD? Not everyone has NPD. They don't have the traits. For me, like, no, I didn't really question it. Once I actually got to the place where I acknowledged I had it and I saw it, like I was like, yeah, this makes sense. It just took me a long time to actually admit it. Do narcissists ever regret losing us? No, because there's not value that they see in you, because it's all about them. Do they ever wish they could have stayed with us? No, same answer. Okay. My therapist wants him to receive therapy. He'll manipulate, though. He can receive therapy, but it doesn't mean you have to be with him. Which is where it's NPD or BPD. Depends how toxic they are. My ex has a great co-parenting relationship with his ex-wife. Her and his family have defended him. We were married 3 years and have a son. He was very abusive. Why the difference? Different images for different folks, different masks for different folks. My 6-year-old asking, do you want to marry my daddy? I found out my ex was sleeping with another girl at the same time as me, and they refused to get an STD test. Why would they refuse that? Because they didn't want to be accountable if it was actually them. I find out that my daughter is a narcissist. My ex-husband was a narcissist. Taking notes. Narcissists don't regret losing you because they never had value in the first place. 100%. Yeah. 100%.